and those of you virtually, to the Richardson Chamber of Commerce Women in Leadership Quarterly Luncheon. We're so happy that you're here today. My name is Susan Casson. I'm a member of the Women in Leadership Committee. The purpose of the Women in Leadership Committee is to inspire, influence, and champion powerful women through advocacy, mentoring, and networking. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you of some safety protocols. Please wear your mask anytime you're not sitting at your table and eating or drinking. If you get up from your table, please put on your mask on covering your mouth and nose. We are excited to see so many of your beautiful faces in person today at our luncheon, and I just want y'all to know that this is like the first time that I've spoken in public in a long time. So please give me some grace, because I've been hiding behind the Zoom camera. But we're very excited that you're here. We want to thank everybody for joining us here at the beautiful new network facility. And this is our network of community ministries, this new facility, and we're very fortunate to have such an outstanding organization here in our community. I want to give a special thank you to for bringing all of the items that we have under our tree for our seniors. I know that the network of community ministries is so appreciative of your generosity, so thank you again. We do have our special guest here is Cindy Schaefer. She's the CEO of the Network of Community Ministries, and we would like to give her an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about this amazing organization.
She took everything I was going to say as far as thank you. Welcome. I can go with, if you need to use the restroom, there's one right outside the door. To reiterate what Susan said, thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm also a member of the Chamber Advisory Board, so on behalf of the Chamber, thank you for coming and participating and getting back in person again. We moved into this facility back in August, the end of August, so we're fairly new. This is the first really large gathering that we've had here. We've had some smaller clubs and organizations. Well, that's not true. Leadership Richardson had a large gathering. The first lunch, let's say that, our first lunch. But we will be renting out this facility for meetings, lunches, things like that. And the lovely Eve that is standing over there is our building engineer, and she is the person that will coordinate all of that. So if you are interested in more information, that is a person you can see. Now that is, our income from this space is really to supplement what we do. And if you're not familiar with Network, you need to be. And I can give you a tour after we're done today if you're interested. But we serve the 14 zip codes that make up the Richardson Independent School District. So the whole zip code we serve. And we help with food, clothes, some financial assistance, and we do some career services, job resource things, and we have senior programming, and that's what you all contributed today. We have a program called Seniors Net. So what we're doing for the holidays is that we put together holiday baskets, and we did 100 at Thanksgiving, and we will do 100 for Christmas. And we deliver to our lowest income seniors that are going to be alone for the holidays. So we want those that might not get gifts or might not have anything anywhere else to feel that they are loved and included. And in the baskets, we give them the food for a complete meal. So Thanksgiving, they got a turkey. If they're getting a basket for Christmas, they'll get ham, and then all of the things for side dishes and dessert and things. But then we also do some toiletries, and our seniors make homemade gifts for them too. They do something different every year. My favorite was they crocheted little pouches to put around their neck for their cell phones to go in them. So that was a year or two ago. But this will go in the holiday baskets for seniors. So thank you for that. And the seniors love them. We always get great feedback. They call and thank us, and always have some really good things to say about people in the community caring for them. And I can't thank you enough for being part of that, to care about the people in our community, even those that are on the lower income and really vulnerable and need help. So thank you for that. And thank you for your support of Network, because we couldn't do any of this without our community. So thank you very much. And if you want to tour later, you can see me after it's over.
We really appreciate you allowing us to have our meeting here today. We are, sorry, trying to find my place here. We have outstanding programs, and we want to thank our sponsors that are here today for allowing us to have these programs for our women in leadership. So I want to introduce our presenting sponsor is Methodist Richardson Medical Center. And we're very fortunate to have several of the team members from Methodist Richardson here today. And I would like to ask Ken Hutchenreiter, president of Methodist Richardson, and our Richardson City Council member, to come to the podium at this time and tell us a little bit about Methodist Richardson.
Thank you so much, Jason. I think you're doing a great job. Relax. These are all friends among us today. So it is so great to see this group here again today. And you know, from our hospital perspective, we continue to remain so bullish on our community. We have invested much, and I'm very excited to announce that last week our board funded a $45 million expansion for our emergency room. So we'll be conducting construction again. So you'll see a lot of us in hard hats. So you're very familiar with wearing hard hats and running around. So we're going to be doing that again. But we're very excited that we'll be having that start. Should start off. We'll start into the development this week, in fact, and then we should start construction in early 2022. So if you see more cranes, it's just that we're very bullish and we're moving forward. We are also very bullish in obviously my lovely lady here at this table of lovely ladies who I get to work with on a day-to-day basis. You know, I'm the luckiest guy in this world. I have a wife and 2 daughters, and then I work in healthcare. So I'm completely surrounded and controlled. I mean, completely surrounded, and I have the opportunity to work with ladies on a daily basis. But on a serious note, I'll pay for that because y'all all know Melinda. I will pay for that later. Trust me. Sorry, I know. Again, yeah, I know. But anyway, we're very bullish because we are. 85% plus of our leadership team are ladies, and they are truly the backbone of our facility and do a fantastic job for us. So that's why I love this program so much, and have always been very, very strong on it. So enjoy. I always walk away with 1 or 2 things that I really am able to operationalize, and I think you will as well. So thank y'all so much. Oh, yes, and we will be, I forgot, sorry, I know.
I'm trying to read you something.
I know, I appreciate that, Cindy. And yes, right after the first of the year, we partnered with Network, and we partnered with Richardson ISD to create a clinic here in Network, be opening up. We're very excited about that. It's been a true partnership with Cindy and the entire Network team, and so more to come on that, but we'll be opening that up in early 2022. What's hard to say? 2022. So see, I told you, ladies control my life, and they help me stay on track every single day. So thank y'all very much.
I did also want to thank some of our other sponsors here today. We have Texas Bank and Trust, and I'm looking for your table. Okay. And Texas Bank and Trust has a strong commitment to service excellence. The bankers who have served customers' financial needs for many years continue to provide the same efficient, personalized service that you've come to expect. The bankers are the people you know, the bankers you trust. Now more than ever, Texas Bank and Trust. Back in my commercial days here. But thank you all for, we also have a couple of other sponsors. We have, if you notice some of the Santa hats on the back of the chairs there that light up, they light up because it's an NRG company. Thank you, Reliance, is one of our sponsors today. And also we have HubCap is one of our sponsors. So thank you all for your sponsorship. We are really grateful for your support of our programs. And now to introduce our special guest today. There's a lot to tell, so just bear with me here because we have a little bit of a rock star among us today. Catherine Monson brings 30 years of franchising and management experience to her leadership role that spans multiple brands. Catherine has been the CEO of Fast Signs International, the leading sign and visual communications franchisor in North America since January of 2009. In 2021, Catherine oversaw and announced the formation of Propelled Brands, the corporate umbrella that now includes Fast Signs and Signwave in Australia, where Fast Signs centers operate under Signwave brand. Also, Nerds to Go, an emerging IT services franchise brand acquired in September of 2020, and Suite Management Franchising, the parent company of My Salon Suite and Salon Plaza, acquired in 2021. Salon management franchising is the leading concept in the salon suite industry, bringing together a collection of independent beauty professionals in one luxurious location. You can see she has leadership experience among very different types of companies. Her awards and accomplishments could fill up this room, so I'll highlight just a few. The Dallas Business Journal's Most Admired CEO Award in 2019. She was named Innovator and Influencer by Simon Digital Graphics Magazine in 2013. In 2016, she got the Leadership Award for Women That Soar organization. And some of you might recognize her, might not. She had a black wig on, and you might recognize her as an undercover boss. And I'll let her tell you a little bit more about that. But, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Catherine Monson to the stage.
Thank you. Basically, what you just heard is I'm old. I've been around a long time. And when you get old, you gain certain knowledge and wisdom, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. But first, let me say, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And thank you for taking time to get together and build each other up, which is what this is all about. Now, I can remember times in the 80s when I would go to business networking events, and there'd be a crowd about this size, and I would be lucky if there were 3 other women. So let's talk about the 4 gentlemen that are with us today. So I want you to know, Kirk, I think it takes a lot of courage to be here. And I can just imagine what you're going to say when you go back down. It's like, holy cow, you're not going to believe there was so much estrogen in the room. I didn't quite know what to do. But maybe you don't feel awkward at all. Maybe this feels normal. Who knows? But I can remember back in the day when I was the rare female, whether it was at a conference, even in my leadership team back in the day at Sir Speedy Dream Centers. But I never let that hold me back. And I never worried about that. I just always believed that the harder I worked, the luckier I would get. And the more value that I brought to my employer, the more likely I would be to rise to the top of the position I wanted. I grew up in a family small business. We started with 1 preschool and got up to 5 preschools. And starting at 8 or 9 or 10 years old, I would go on the weekends with my dad. And we'd mow the lawns and clean the kitchens. And do you know they make tiny toilets for tiny asses? and I cleaned the tiny toilets, right? And I mean, it was a great experience. But from 8 years old, every weekend, my dad and I would go and we would talk business. And then as I got older, I got to do accounts payable and then accounts receivable. And there was a time in my high school career where mom and dad, for unrelated, were in the hospital for the same week. And I went to the Yorba school at 6 in the morning and opened it up and got the first teacher started and went over to the Anaheim school and made sure everything was okay and went to the main headquarters in Fullerton, California, and wrote checks out and went to the hospital and had my dad sign them. So I mean, it was just a great experience growing up in a family business. Now, like many people in this room, not everything in my childhood was perfect. I grew up in an abusive alcoholic home. My mother was an alcoholic, and from a very young age, I heard, Catherine, if you weren't such a bad child, I wouldn't have to drink. So that's a mindset that's probably not very positive. And so one of the things I had to learn in my life was how to get past that mindset. I'm going to talk today all about mindset. I believe mindset is the key to everything in life. And I've got some believers, I can tell that with people shaking their head up and down. Mindset is what it is all about. If you can control your mind and how you feel, oh, I feel bad for that poor woman that's trying to get me on video. All right.
You just
You just
walk.
be me, I'll be me, you be you, good luck.
Yes.
You're gonna have a sore arm when this thing is over. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be fantastic. I will try not to move more than 30 feet each direction. Anyway, so I'm gonna talk to you about mindset today. And I know that you have a theme about rejuvenating your mind. This is a time we're thinking about 2020, right? We're thinking about what do we want to accomplish next year. Setting big, hairy, audacious goals for ourselves. And that's important. You gotta have a big, hairy, audacious goal or two to be working on all the time to inspire yourself. So I'm gonna talk about rejuvenating your mind, which is really all about mindset, having a positive mindset. And so I'm gonna do that because I'm gonna share what I consider the 5 common characteristics of all highly successful people. And I made it like a little street sign because fast signs is how I moved to Texas in January of 2009. And I've led that organization since then. But the 5 common characteristics of all highly successful people, I believe, number 1, positive mental attitude. Number 2, goal-directed behavior. Number 3, self-motivation. Number 4, a sense of urgency. And number 5, never stopping learning. But here's the cool thing. They're all learned skills. Now, maybe somebody had parents that taught them this when they were 5 years old and 8 years old and 3 years old, and maybe it became part of some people's personalities. And God, I would love to meet those people. How cool that would have been. But I had to learn all these things on my own, and nothing makes me happier than sharing with other people. Normally when I'm sharing with other people, I'm sharing with high school kids and college kids because I would love to do that. And now that we're getting a little past COVID, maybe there'll be more of those opportunities coming up. So what I want you to do is share these ideas with your kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews. Because if you can master this stuff, you can do anything you want in life. I've always wanted to be a CEO. So I've mastered these things to achieve what I've achieved in my career. But these are great skills if you want to be the best parent in the world. They're great skills if you want to be the best pastor in the world, the best politician in the world. It doesn't matter what your dream is. It's about your mindset, about how you get there. I'm going to spend more time on positive mental attitude because I believe it is totally foundational. I think if you cannot wake up in the morning and feel good and feel gratitude and feel positive about life, just give up the other stuff because that is the foundation upon which all is built. I didn't have a positive mental attitude. I was told that if I had been a better kid, Mom wouldn't have drunk. Lots of bad things happened, suicide attempts, all kinds of stuff that she did, right? And I always felt somewhat guilty for being such a bad child. Didn't grow up a great way. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I bet there are other people in this room who grew up in houses that had an alcoholic parent, right? One of the best things I ever did was get some really good therapy. I think the adult child of alcoholic concept is very helpful. There's great books on adult children of alcoholics. I've read them all. They're valuable. They're important. I think that's good. But the thing I had to learn first and foremost was positive mental attitude. And here's what I used to do in my 20s. Oh God, I wonder if I'll ever achieve what I want. You know, I'm kind of overweight and I just can't seem to lose weight for anything. You know, there's no man in my life and I wonder if I'll ever meet a good man. And what I would do is I would pile on. And what I learned through therapy and what I learned through reading and what I learned through learning to control my mind is I'm in charge of my mind. So even today, some days I will find a day where I start to spiral down. Whether it's, boy, there's challenges being a CEO and oh my God, what about this one key employee that's having these challenges? How am I going to deal with that? And then I go, what I learned to do in my late 20s. I do this. Stop! I yell at myself, and you ought to try that sometime at line in Costco where there's those really long lines, and you find yourself starting to pile on, and then you just say, stop! And then you forgot, oh, that was my outside voice? You got to try that sometime. It really gets some good attention out there. But what I've learned to do through therapy, through understanding, is I have to control my mind. So I'm going to just share with you some stuff that I truly believe. No one will ever be more successful than they see themselves being. I remember interviewing a gentleman who immigrated to the United States from Pakistan. He had under $50 in his pocket, and he now has a 20,000 square foot home and 9 cars in South Lake. And so I asked Aslam, how do you do it? And he said, every morning I lay down on the floor and I envision the day. And I envision every meeting. And I envision how I succeed in that meeting, how I handle that negotiation, how I motivate my team, how I'm successful in the day. He says I start my day every day that way. Now I tried that, laying on the floor, I fall out of sleep. So that's not how I do it, but that's a good way to do it. So before I go do whatever it is, a big negotiation, the first time I spoke live on television in Fox News studio, the first time I spoke in front of 4,000 people, before I do it, I go get in a little quiet space, and sometimes it's just sitting at a table like I was here today, and I envision success. I envision I'm relaxed in front of that TV camera. I'm gonna be myself. 4,000 people are no different than 40. I can do this thing. Now, I will tell you that first time I was live on a TV interview, there might have been a little knee knocking, but the good news about the knee knocking is it was below the view of the camera. And that's okay, right? And that's part of courage, is you just go out there in spite of being scared. So no one will ever be more successful than they see themselves being. We need to see ourselves being successful. I'm a true believer that attitude determines altitude. One of my favorite quotes, and in our office, you're welcome to come visit us. We have this long hall called Inspiration Hall, and it is filled with about 150 quotes. Whenever I get a new one, I send it to my guy on the tech team and I say, put this one up. And I wait for somebody to say, you did add one. I don't know, did I add one? You tell me, what did you see? And one that I added just about a year and a half ago was a diamond is a piece of coal that took stress really well. So one of the things I try to do in my most stressful CEO days is try to be a diamond, because who wants to be a lump of coal? A negative mind will never get you a positive life. And I think that's an important lesson for all kids to learn. Whether you believe you can do a thing or not, you're right. Henry Ford, think about the guy who created assembly lines, right? Or making cars. And he believed he could do it when other people said he couldn't. Stay positive, you become what you think about. This is critical. If you think about failing and you're not going to do well on the test and you're not good enough and you're not going to get that promotion, you will not, right? So it is all about what you believe in your mind. You become what you think about. A happy person is not a person with a certain set of circumstances, but a person with a set of attitudes. I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. Shit is going to happen. I apologize, I have offended somebody. But there are times in life shit happens, whether that's a car accident, your sister gets diagnosed with cancer, the company that you work for files bankruptcy and you lose your job, there's an acquisition and you no longer are the VP, whatever it is, those things happen. But what you need to do is control your mind about it, have that set of attitudes that will get you through those tough times. What you focus on is what you'll get. You know, Tony Robbins is a big teacher about success and positive mental attitude and all of that. And one of the things he teaches is focus on what you want. Focus on success. If it's fitness, focus on fitness. If it's learning a new skill, focus on that. You are going to get what you focus on. And one that I love is my response is my responsibility. How I handle bad news, right? I have a friend that I know that when she gets bad news, she does the flop. And I mean, she flops on the floor and wails, and I've never seen anything like it. And I don't think it's functional, particularly when you do that in front of your team or your family. But anyway, that's how she handles it. Attitudes are truly contagious. So I try to ask myself, is mine worth catching, right? So I am not a morning person. Another way to say that is I have never met a morning I like. I mean, every morning I wake up and I go, oh God, and it takes me an hour and a half and much caffeine to become human. So there are days I'm about to walk into the office or about to turn on the Zoom camera and I'm feeling grumpy. And I have to say, no, Catherine, you're the leader. You cannot be grumpy. I've got to have an attitude that'll be good to catch, not a grumpy attitude, and I will make myself act a certain way. And one of the things I learned is acting is a really good thing. If you act happy and act positive, you will end up feeling happier than before you started acting. It is absolutely true. So stepping out and acting in a role can be very, very helpful. Never say anything about yourself you don't want to come true. So when I meet somebody who says, I'm bad with names, as long as I'm not in a situation that's going to embarrass them, I'm going to say, let's talk about why you should never say that. You have programmed yourself to be bad with names. Start doing the opposite programming. I am great at remembering names. I am great at remembering names. I am great at remembering names. And even if you aren't, you'll start believing that you are, and you'll be better at remembering names. And then self-talk is so important, right? Talking to yourself in a positive way. So I have a mantra. I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to share the whole mantra, but when I do get down, I start sharing my mantra with myself. And it's talking about how I am whole and complete and positive and intelligent and successful. And I can say that to myself, and in 15 minutes, my whole attitude shifts. So I think it's important how you talk to yourself. Bill Walsh said, what matters most is what you expect from yourself. It's that high expectation for yourself. It's not what others expect of you, it's what you expect of yourself. And so I'm always asking myself to step up, be excellent, do more, make an impact, make a difference in people's lives. People who do the best are those who expect the most. Your personal internalized standards are what makes the difference. Now, I am going to talk about one exception to positive mental attitude. And that is the area of grief. So I've had a fair amount of that in my life. And I truly believe that our role, when faced with people in our lives that are facing grief, they've lost a child, they've lost their spouse, they've lost their sibling. Our job is not to tell them to have a positive mental attitude. In any other situation, I would coach somebody about having a positive mental attitude. But I really think in the areas of grief, our job is love. What we need to do is love people. And that might be sending them a text every day, sending them multiple cards, sitting with them, listening, asking open-ended questions and shutting up and just listening, or just crying with them and bringing a box of Kleenex, right? So the one area that I would say is in the area of grief, our job is to love. And in every other area, when we can coach somebody to get to a positive mental attitude, that's a good thing. So I want to just talk about some skills to develop that will help you with your positive mindset. Courage. Courage is nothing more than acting even though you're afraid. That's all courage is. So it can start with how fast are you comfortable driving that jet ski? Now for me, the shakiness comes at about 44 miles an hour. And there will be times I will say, I'm going to take this jet ski faster because I'm going to overcome my fear. Generally speaking, that works out pretty well. I have not crashed the jet ski yet. But courage is nothing more than stepping out and doing it in spite of your fear. And so practice that, no matter what it is. If it's public speaking, go to Toastmasters, learn some stuff, and then get up and do some public speaking, and you'll go, wow, that was really easy. If it's whatever it might be, just step out and give it a shot. Fortitude. Fortitude is just sticking with it. It's perseverance. It's pushing yourself, right? And all of you are in leadership positions. All of you have challenges. You just get that positive mindset and you keep pushing on, and you will develop great depth of character. Grit and fortitude are very, very closely related. There's some great books on fortitude. There's some great books on grit. Just Google it. I read any kind of those things I can get. And then learning to take action and not worrying. I had a grandmother that worried about everything. Grandma Monson. Oh my God. Was the sun going to come up? Was there going to be an earthquake? Was there going to be a tornado? Was there going to be a snowstorm? No, you live in Southern California, Grandma. There's not going to be a snowstorm, but there could very well be an earthquake. Oh my God, there's going to be an earthquake. The key is not to worry. When you catch yourself worrying, is just take some sort of action. At the beginning of the pandemic, the worry was, what are my franchisees going to do? Oh my God, are they going to be able to stay in business? Or how do we get them to be essential? What are we going to do? No, instead of worrying, work on getting them to be deemed essential, right? Do something. And then taking personal responsibility. I think one of the things that has happened in our country is we've let people off the hook and are not telling them to take personal responsibility. It's our responsibility on how we act, the decisions we make, and when we make a mistake, we always say, I made a mistake, and you will be amazed at how powerful it is when you own up to your mistakes. So all that is part of skills to develop for positive mental attitude. And I'm going to end the positive mental attitude section with a quote from Zig Ziglar. And Zig Ziglar tells this great story about giving this super motivational speech. And, you know, at the end of that, people want to come up and talk to you and shake your hand and say, oh my God, that was great. I learned so much. Fantastic. And this person at the end of the line says, well, that wasn't very good because tomorrow, how am I going to motivate myself? And Zig Ziglar said, people often say motivation doesn't last, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend both every day. So I told you about Inspiration Hall. I have been collecting quotes for decades. As old as I am now, I can say decades, right? And so when I need something to pick me up, I just open one of my books of quotes. I got a file on my email because I subscribe to any positive quote email list I can get. I can just read the emails I store in that particular file, right? I mean, so it's my job to do that, but I got to do it every day. So positive mental attitude is foundational. And when faced with grief with people in your life, just love. Don't be preaching, just love and hug on them and spend time with them. So number one, foundational positive mental attitude. Number two, goal-directed behavior. The most important thing we can teach our kids, our grandkids, our nieces and nephews is to have goals, write them down, and work every day a little bit on one of them. Not like all day on one of them. Some days you can do that. But goal-directed behavior is so important. All high achievers plan their work and work their plan. The same reason I want every one of my franchisees to have a business plan for the coming year is it's nothing more than goal-directed behavior. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going, right? A goal is a roadmap. The trouble with not having a goal is you can spend your time running up and down the field and never score, or just rowing in circles and never get where you want to go. Michelangelo said the greater danger for most of us lies not in setting our aim too high and falling short, but setting our aim too low and achieving our mark. And that's why I said earlier, I have a big, hairy, audacious goal. And when you achieve that one, put another big, hairy, audacious goal on the list, because that will drive you to greater and greater achievement. Lawrence Peter said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up someplace else. So I knew from a young age I wanted to be a CEO, and so I kept looking for opportunities. I volunteered for special projects anywhere I could help gain knowledge. I did those things, and I moved up the ranks, became president of a brand, and then recruited to be CEO of Fast Times. I did that because I created more value for my employer. Because I created value in the franchise industry, saying, hey, I'll speak at any IFA event, no charge. I'll talk about what I've learned and how best practices in franchising can help every franchisor so you get recognized. Those kinds of things you do to build your value. One way to keep momentum is to constantly have greater goals. The goals I set today are bigger than the ones I set in my 30s, and that's how it should be for all of us. So goal-directed behavior, having some goals, writing them down, really, really critical. The next thing that is also learned, so let me back up on goal-directed behavior. The more you read about how to achieve goals, it really talks about thinking about what you want, writing it down, breaking it into little actionable items, and looking at that list of goals every day before you go to bed, when you wake up, and then doing something every day to achieve one of them. And when you start having that mindset, that you program your minds, really, really cool things happen. So self-motivation. I had the opportunity to meet Jenny Craig. Anybody remember a chain of weight loss stores years ago, Jenny Craig? I had the opportunity to meet her and spend some time with her. And one of the things she had on the wall in her office is it's not what you do once in a while, it's what you do day in and day out that matters. It's that whether it's doing one more thing, making a thank you call to a customer, saying thank you to an employee, do a little bit of coaching, building up your positive mindset, just do it a little bit every day and great things will happen. Thomas Jefferson said, I am a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more of it I have. And that's what I found is the hard work really pays off. You cannot achieve $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. If we could teach our kids and our grandkids and our nieces and nephews that it really is hard work that gets stuff done, it would be really, really great for each and every one of them. Don't watch the clock do what it does. Keep going. Don't give up. The way to get started is to stop talking and start doing. I mean, Walt Disney had this vision of Disneyland and everybody was saying he was crazy. And he said, no, we're gonna get this thing done. And he just kept doing it, even though people laughed at him. And look at the empire that Disney is today. One guy with a vision of a place to create the happiest place on earth, a vision that he had, right? But he didn't let other people get in the way. And then again, there is Yoda, the Jedi Master, who very, very wisely said, do or do not. There is no try. And so when one of my franchisees says, well, I think I'll try having a daily production meeting. No. You don't try. You have a daily production meeting, right? So it's just the self-motivation thing is just doing it, just pushing yourself, making it happen. Fourth common characteristic of all highly successful people is a sense of urgency. Getting more done today than your competitor. You have to get twice as much done? That competitor could be someone else vying for that promotion. It could be someone looking to sell more to customers. Do you have to be twice as good? No. You only need to be like 1 or 2 or 3% better. You just have to do a little bit more. When you're thinking about closing the laptop and going home for the day, reach out to 4 more prospective customers. Call a prior customer and thank them for their business. Reach out to an employee and thank them for the great job they did that day. It's not a lie. You don't have to work 16 hours a day. It's impossible to work 16 hours a day, more than 2 or 3 days in a row. Having done 16-hour days, I can tell you more than 2 or 3 days in a row doesn't work. But it's just a little bit more each and every day. That sense of urgency. Never put off to tomorrow what you can do today. And I really try to live that way. And it has great, great rewards. Gary Solomon, the founder of Fast Signs International, said, the universe rewards action. You know, earlier I talked about worrying. Worrying, you just sit there and you stew and you don't get anything done. Stop that. Just do something. It doesn't really matter what you do. Try to do something that will advance your cause, right? But it's all about action. The universe will reward that action. And then the last and final common characteristic I believe that all highly successful people have is never stopping learning. I'm CEO, I'm chair of the International Franchise Association. I could sit back on my laurels and think I know all, or I could keep reading books on leadership and watching TED Talks on leadership and reading about all kinds of different things. I do those things because I need to never stop learning because the world is changing and other people are getting better and better and better. And if I don't up my game, I'm not going to be able to achieve all that I want to achieve. So Bill Brooks said, become a student of success, study successful people, winning organizations, championship teams, and implement what you learn in your own life. So like, I love reading about Kobe Bryant, right? Or reading about Michael Jordan. What made them good? They practiced. In the off season, they practiced more than competitive players did. Both of those players said, I'm going to perfect a new move in the off season. So then what do? I need to perfect a new move as a CEO. Well, there isn't an off season, but I need to keep getting better, right? So that's a way I try to run my life. Leaders are readers. Now today you could also be leaders or watchers because there's great stuff on TED Talks and YouTube, and so it doesn't all, or you can listen to audiobooks that expanding your mind, learning all the time will make you more successful, will prepare you for the next great thing in your life. You don't know what that thing is quite yet. So I have probably about 60 motivational videos that I made during the pandemic. First, I started out weekly videos for Fast Signs franchisees. Then I was asked by the International Franchise Association to do weekly videos for everybody who's a member. And then as we added brands, I did it for them. But if you're looking for a 5 to 7 minute refresher, pick me up, whatever it is, go to youtube.com/Catherine Monson. I even watch myself sometimes. Because there are days I'm not perfect, right? And I need to refresh my memory, right? I can walk down Inspiration Hall or I can, watch a video of myself or other people. But anyway, I really truly believe that there are 5 common characteristics of highly successful people. We can learn to have a positive mental attitude. We can learn to control our mind. We can learn how to set and achieve goals. We can learn to be more motivated. We can learn to have a sense of urgency to get more done every day. And we can learn to never stop learning by learning something every single day. So What's great is they're all learned skills. I work on getting better at them each and every day. And I have 3 minutes left, but I don't know, I think I'm done. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for your attention. I said I would open it up for Q&A. So how do we want to do the Q&A? Just take them?
Yeah, just take them. If you have a question, please feel free to stand up and ask your question.
All right, question. It's like, oh my gosh, she has droned on for 30 minutes. I'm so sick and tired of hearing her talk. I just want her to stop. Good job. I like that.
What has been one of your hardest challenges?
So hardest challenge. Okay. I'd say I have had 2 in my career. One involved getting a company ready for a sale. First transaction I took the company through, having an executive that was uniquely talented and could do 2 roles, but also had some behavioral issues and not making the change and holding on too long. I hurt the organization for that. I should have just let him go and hire 2 people to replace him. So I'd say that I did a lot of things about that. But I would say the pandemic. So I, had started hearing on the news and talking to some fellow CEOs that had operations in China, started hearing in December about it, started hearing in January of 2020 about it. I'm saying to my executive team, we got to get prepared for our team to work remotely. We got to get prepared to teach our franchisees to have the majority of their people work remotely. We got to get ready for the thing. And they said, you're out of your mind. This is not going to happen. And so one of the challenges was, how do I get them to buy in? And saying, because I'm the boss, you have to do it is not the most motivating approach. Sometimes you have to do that, but I kept over a series of weeks saying, we got to get this done. Finally got them convinced that maybe that was okay, that she's crazy, but we'll do it anyway. And then there was that weekend in March, we all remember. And I walked into the office that Monday morning and I could cut the tension with a knife. Everybody was walking like this. Everybody was terrified. People just didn't know what to do. And so I realized that my role was now to give them the direction on what to do and to give them the vision that we could get through this thing. And I not only had to do that for the team that worked for me in Dallas, but the field staff that I don't get to see except on video. And then 700 franchise locations throughout the US, Canada, and 4 or 5 other countries, right? And so how do I get that done? So very quickly it became video, and so then I started doing some videos. And then it was also, thinking about how to create a flywheel of good ideas, franchisee success, implementing the ideas, franchisees coming up with their own ideas, and then teaching everybody about those and how we did that. But I mean, just getting the company through the pandemic. And the biggest compliment I ever received was from one of my director level employees. And she said, see if I can do this without getting choked up. You carried the company through the pandemic. We would not have achieved what we achieved if it wasn't for you. There were times I felt that weight on my shoulders. There were times I wanted to just go in a room and cry. And not because I wasn't sure, I'd never run a company during a pandemic, right? But I figured, understand the strategy, understand getting past worry, understand getting everybody to act and do the important things they need to do to drive, whether it's the franchise forward or supporting our franchises. So that would be my answer to that question.
Writing my CEO a letter today.
Yes.
So with, right now with all the return to the office, and there's a lot of uncertainty, how do you maintain your PMA when there's like morale is so low and people are leaving?
The great resignation, right?
Yeah.
Or when you're growing and you need to add new people and you find out that, not everybody great people don't even show up for interviews, right? So, part of it is never let that stuff get you down. Know that everybody's looking at me as the CEO. I've got to have that positive attitude, and then I got to think about what are the strategies to fill those roles, right? So part of it is, while I would love everybody back in the office because I'm old and old school. You laughed. You might be the youngest one in the room. You just go 5 more decades, and you see how it feels. I mean, 4.5 decades. So part of it is how you behave and how you act, and then part of it is thinking about the tactics and the strategies to fill those positions. And it's more flexibility, I think, today. It's giving people that option to be remote or hybrid, and it's more communicating, right? It's more communicating, and it's hard to communicate on Zoom. Anybody notice that? And so there's got to be sometimes you just got to turn off the cameras or just go to phone, and sometimes you just got to ask personal questions. How are you doing? How is your child doing? What's keeping you up at night? And you got to deal with those personal, emotional things first. But if it was easy, everybody would do it. Yes.
So when you're hiring great people like, like Ron, or how do you have a specific way to interview people to figure out in your?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we do at my company, and I did at my prior company, is we use a personality assessment called McQuaig. And McQuaig measures your natural inclination as well as how you're acting in your current situation about, are you dominant or are you passive? Are you driven or are you relaxed? Are you independent or are you compliant? Are you social or are you more technical in how you like to deal with people? So we benchmark every position using McQuaig. And so how could we do that? We could take our best business consultants, this is what we did for business consultants, and the people who manage business consultants and have them do a job survey, which then gives you the ideal benchmark graph for that position. And what's interesting is for the International Franchise Association, we've hired a lot of executives recently. We've really been expanding and building out the team with new strategy. And so I've been using my McQuaig account for the IFA candidates, because for flat fee, I can do unlimited McQuaigs. And so I have the officers and the key leaders at the IFA benchmark the position, and then I look at each of their benchmarks, what they think the position ought to be, and I got one officer who thinks everybody ought to be sweet and not dominant and not driven, and I always throw his out before we put the because you can look at it, you can see, oh, it's got a high red chart here, and then it's got a low green, and most people are that way, but Bill's, I don't know what Bill's been smoking, but it's everybody's happy and we love each other. And so I've actually stopped sending Bill the job surveys because I just kept throwing them out. So that's one way. And then I think it's spending time with people. One of the things I like about McQuaig is once you've got your benchmark, you can also compare it to each person's actual personality. And then it has questions based on what's different. And then you just spend time with people. And then I think one of the important things we all need to learn as leaders is to hire slow and fire fast. And I don't mean to sound heartless on that, but if you've got someone who doesn't match the culture or isn't performing or is causing negative disruption, it's very hard to change personality. It's much easier for them to go someplace else. How does that answer your question?
Perfect.
Okay, yes. Youngster.
So, in this situation like in this time right now, how do you balance the positive attitude
Okay, so I'm gonna answer that a funky way, okay? And then we'll come back to it. I have always traveled a lot in my business, always a lot. And I had somebody ask me 5 or 6 years ago, so how many nights away from home, how many nights you spending in a hotel each year? My answer was, why would I count that number? I love my life. What's the upside of having the number? Now that's me. If I had young children at home, if being at home 90% of the time is important to me, I wouldn't have the job I have, right? So I think that the most successful realists first start knowing that there's a good way to get past the barrier. So it's mindset. Does that mean Pollyanna is like, no, it doesn't, but if I create a direction for my team to go, and I'm like this, I'm not really sure this is gonna work. I mean, it's the best idea I came up with. I didn't really sleep last night, but I don't think it's gonna work. Let's go and get this done. It's not gonna be as successful as say, hey guys, here's what I think we can do. Do you think there's a way to do it better? Take all that input, decide what you're gonna do, say, we can do this, we can get this done. So, gonna add 2 personal stories. My brother, when he was 16, broke his neck and he's a quadriplegic. So there's a couple choices you can make. Like, well, it was me, I'm paralyzed, I can't bathe myself, feed myself, go to the bathroom by myself. Life is shitty. That's one option. The other option is, I'm gonna make the best of this that I can. So my brother, you know, he's paralyzed from the neck down. He's got biceps and wrist flexors. That's all he's got in his arms, right? But he's created a charity called Wheels of Mercy, and he collects used wheelchairs, refurbs them, and gives them to people who can't afford fancy wheelchairs, who don't have insurance, right? So he's found a way to have meaning in his life, right? So I think that it's everything I read about positive attitude is it will help you get through the tough times. A negative attitude is never going to help you get through the tough times. So that's how I would answer that. Yes.
What's the most memorable thing you've learned from being undercover boss? Which you were awesome, by the way. Too.
Oh, thank you. Well, I learned 2 great things to improve our business. I never would have learned them on my own. Because when I usually visit a franchise, the franchisee knows I'm coming, the center's clean, and it's all unicorns and butterflies. Now I'll ask probing questions, maybe get past the unicorns and get past the butterflies. But what I learned on Undercover Boss is 2 different employees I worked with had no idea about our marketing materials, that our website was fully customizable for their location, that our email marketing was fully customizable, that we updated our marketing materials every 6 months. So one of the things we implemented within a week of finishing shooting is anything we send out to our franchisees on training, marketing, anything that's not business confidential, we send to all of the employee email addresses. And that has really helped get people who, not every franchisee is sharing all of what we're doing with their employees. And that was one thing we learned. I would never have understood that if I didn't do Undercover Boss. The other thing is, as you reminded me this morning of being on a lift, the first time I was ever on a lift, 3 floors up, little lift, right, thank you, and changing out a sign that used to be, and now is going to be NRG Energy. Spending 8 hours on that lift doing this installation, first time on a lift, first time installing an exterior electrical sign, was really a great opportunity. I learned that we never taught our franchisees how to handle outdoor installations. So we hired a specialist to put a whole curriculum together. So those are 2 things just from Undercover Boss that I learned were great. And I can tell it's time for me to give you the microphone.
Well, no, I hate going after her because I love Catherine and, you know.
Well,
One of the things I'm gonna do is I'm being interviewed on TV on Friday. Luckily it's San Angelo, but I'm gonna take your advice and
oh, you're great.
redo it.
Oh my God, you're gonna be so relaxed in front of that camera. You're gonna own the audience. Are you live or a remote? Okay, so the first couple of Fox News things I did, I was in the studio. So I could sit down and I could talk and I could have eye contact and I'm dealing with a person. The first remote I did might have been my 5th TV hit. And so you're essentially in a closet and there's this little TV camera, right? That's all it is. You got an earpiece, you don't see anything else. You're not seeing the other people. And I didn't know to stare at the camera. One of the most important things if you're doing remote, stare at the camera. Not only stare at it, love it. Look at it. No, I'm serious. You look at that camera, even when they're not talking to you, because you're not sure when you're on the split screen and when you're not. It's the whatever you love. It's caramel sauce. It's your husband, your dog. You just think about getting big sloppy kisses from your dog. That's very important to know. If you're ever doing a remote hit in a studio, right? You love the camera. And then notice now, whenever you watch anybody on TV, the talking heads, they never, if they're experienced, they never look down. And then you see the person that's being interviewed the first time remote, and they're going like this. And then when they watch themselves, they go, oh my God, that was a mistake. So you're going to be amazing. You're going to be amazing. Anyway, it's been really fun. Thank you very much for your time.
We've tried to get Catherine here for a couple of years now, and I'm just so thrilled that I hope you enjoyed her as much as I did. I'm gonna take, I think it was Bill, somebody's advice, and I'm gonna study Catherine Monson. Anyway, thank you. As earlier, I think Susan stated, the mission of the Women in Leadership is to inspire, influence, and champion powerful women through advocacy, mentoring, and networking. If you are not a member of the Chamber and you are interested in joining the more than 450 current members, we are working together to build a community, or if you're interested in being part of our committee, please let Andrea know. And the WIL committee, we always appreciate your feedback. So today, I think an email will go out. So if you'll fill out the email, let us know what you thought about. If you have any suggestions, please let us know that as well. For entering, you'll be entered into a drawing for a $25 gift card. And along that line, we also have door prizes.
If you have not given your card yet, I would
Oh, and I forgot one of the most important things, Catherine. We wanted to thank you for today. I know we've been hounding you for a while, so please, from the WIL committee, thank you for coming out today. We love you. Absolutely. Okay, we're collecting cards. If you don't have a card in the bowl, please. We're walking around collecting. Oh, like our Facebook and Instagram pages for the Richardson Women in Leadership. We call it WIL. Catherine, I don't know if you have time to use those, but we hope maybe that you.
I love things all the time. They're just carrying the yellow line hat.
Okay, so I've got everybody last minute in here. Okay, to start off with, it is the holidays. Reliant lights your holidays. Those hats light up. There's a little tab in there. You just pull it out and you can turn the hat on. And we're the sponsor of the Dallas Zoo Lights. And the lucky winner to go to Dallas Zoo Lights is Tina. And we're going to stay with the holiday theme. Holiday at the Arboretum. Tickets donated by none other than Reliant. And those are going to Angela McCants. Okay, somebody else is going to have to draw on this one because I'm hoping I can maybe win this one. I don't want to put my name out. I should have. This is for a wine picnic basket donated by Cynthia Rodan. And she didn't pick me. Vicki Ratliff. Okay, and Cynthia also donated 3 bottles of wine. Cynthia's with JP Morgan Chase. Yeah, I want that one too. That's not me. And we have Ronnie Carrasco. Yay! Oh, and Catherine, I'm allergic to mornings as well. Next, we have an inspiration jar, also donated by Cynthia. Thank you, Cynthia. Oh, I should be. Stephanie Chesser, did I say that right? Okay. Okay, we have a glass ornament, also donated by Cynthia. Yay, Cynthia. This goes to Judy Fishpaw. All right, Judy. Judy goes to Spring Hill Skates. And we have Friends of the Parade package donated by the city of Richardson, and that goes to Sam Mullen. And we have a 2 Friends of the Parade package donated by the city of Richardson, and that goes to Sam Mullen. The 2 Sam. Okay, didn't see that one. Okay, $50 to a Boca Italian restaurant. That was donated by Irene. Yes, thank you, with Verbicom. And that goes to Melissa Whitehead with Geico. Okay, and another package by Reliant, a Google Home Mini, that goes to Linda Windlinger. Did I say that correct, Linda? All right. And we have another Google Home Mini. And that goes to Monday through Saturday. No, where we go? There's a name on here.
Exceptional urgent
Care? All right. This is the name. One more Google Home Mini. Oh, again, another one, exceptional urgent care. Is there another person there? Oh, okay. Ooh, we see what you did. Okay, Allison Jones. And we have 4 Dallas Zoo tickets, also donated by Reliant. This is for daytime. These expire December 21st or 31st. So if you don't get to use them before then, reach out to me and I'll get you new ones for 2022. Angela Powell, and you know how to get a hold of me, Angela. Okay, donated by Methodist Richardson Medical Center. Our friends Ken and Jan. Charcuterie board, and that goes to Leslie Sanders. And we end up with a bottle of wine and a water bottle donated by a WIL committee member, Angela Powell, and that goes to Pam. I can't read your last name. Okay. Okay. What is it? McIntosh, okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you all coming out, and we want to wish you happiest of holidays, Merry Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you live in 2022.